Good Sunday morning, thriving therapist. I just wanted to hop on here and talk to you for a few minutes about getting more clarity as you build your private practice. So, you guys who have been with me for a little while might notice a little change in the background. We moved some furniture around in our house yesterday. I got a hair in my mouth. And we rearranged my entire office. I love it, and it just feels like I've moved, even though I'm still here practicing telehealth out of my house office. But it feels really good to freshen everything up. So you'll see a little rearranging with the layout behind me, but I still have some things to fix. But anyways, I wanted to get on here real quick this morning and invite you to think really carefully about 6 important steps to building a practice that have everything to do with your clarity. Okay, so let's go through them real quick. Number 1 is your values. You have to know what it is that your values are when you start building a practice, because that will help shape and inform the way you want to run your business, who you want to work with, how you want to show up, and how successful you are. So if you're not clear on your own values as a person, as a professional, in terms of what you stand for, what you believe in, it will be very hard for you to run your practice with clarity. So that's number 1, values, okay? Number 2 is why. Know your why. Why are you building a thriving practice? Or why are you building a retreat or a workshop or a course? Why are you deciding to focus on this population or that population? Know your why. When you understand the why of why you're building a private practice, you'll be completely in alignment with the clarity that's required to build a very successful, thriving practice. Can you guys hear me okay, by the way? Can you just give me a quick, gotcha or hear you? I'm using a different computer today, and I just want to make sure that my volume is on. I can see that some of you are watching, but just give me a quick comment. I can't see the likes or the hearts right now, but if you can just comment like audio works, that would help me a lot. Number 3, okay, on the list of clarity is knowing who your ideal client is, okay? This is super important. I do a lot of coaching with therapists, and this is kind of a big sticky point that gets very complicated for people. And your ideal client is someone that you love working with, a population that lights you up. It is also important to know who you don't want to work with. And the beauty of private practice is that you get to decide, okay? You get to decide. If you don't want to work with a certain population, you don't have to. And, oh, hey, Kim, you guys can hear me okay? I want to be sure this is working. I have my whole new setup, and I don't know if my desktop audio is working. So it's super important to really identify who our ideal client is, because that will also inform everything you need to know about your marketing. And your target audience will inform where you market, who your network referrals will be, who in your circle you want to promote your services to, and what kind of services you need to maybe increase in terms of your training or your cultural competency or your continuing education, for example. So if you're not clear on who your ideal client is, you're going to look to the world like you are serving everyone. So it's really important that you really kind of niche down and understand, again, who your ideal client is, okay? So we're going over the 6 steps to clarity to help you build a thriving practice. The first was values. The second was know your why. The third is understand who your ideal client is. And then the fourth one is self-care. You guys have to be aligned with clarity around self-care practices. Otherwise, you will lose yourself in your practice. You will begin to feel resentful of the clients and the work, and you will burn out. So your self-care is really critical. And by understanding the clarity of self-care, I mean really understand what it is that brings you nourishment and restoration and comfort, and how do you refuel, how do you recharge, You know, self-care can mean different things to different people, but it's super important that you get clarity around what your self-care practices are and how you incorporate them in your everyday life. If we don't maintain healthy self-care practices, it's going to be very hard for us to show up for our clients and be available to them. So I have learned that over the years that if you don't have great principles around that, you can start to feel like you're resenting the people that you're trying to love and help and serve, right? So self-care, number 4. Number 5 is boundaries. Boundary management is incredibly important when you're managing a private practice, okay? So you want to be sure that your work is in your own lane, okay? You want to be sure that when you're showing up for clients, you're completely connected and present and available to those clients. But when you're offline, you're offline. So you really want to have a good, healthy idea of when you're in front of your clients, you're in front of them. When you're doing your office administrative work to manage your practice, like rescheduling people or getting back to people, emailing or such things like billing, charting, those kinds of things. You want to know that when you're on, and when you're off, you're off. And then you also want to be able to manage really healthy boundaries with yourself and your loved ones. Because sometimes people, knowing that you're a therapist, will try to lean in to ask you advice or try to get you to be a mediator for them and their problems. They try to pull you in to be aligned with them against someone else, and triangulate you or such. So you have to be really careful to be sure that you're in alignment with your own healthy boundaries. And when we do this well, it's sometimes very difficult in the beginning because we feel a little bit like, ooh, that means I have to say no. That means I have to say no to a client. I can't add that session on, even though I might have the hour free at the end of the day, but I've made a promise to myself that I'm really only going to work this many hours a week or whatever it might be. So managing the boundaries can be very challenging in the beginning, but it ends up being really important to our entire practice in terms of the way we manage our private practice and manage our clarity in terms of our business. Now, this last one is also equally important, and sometimes I think people think, oh gosh, I hate to even think about my financial goals, but that is something that I want you to get a lot of clarity on. What are your financial goals? Okay. What are the goals that you have for the rest of this year, right? We have a few months left of 2020. What are your 2021 financial goals? If you don't set that for yourself, it's very hard to meet those projections. And a lot of therapists don't think about their business as a business, but it is. So really quick to recap, you have to have clarity in your practice, in the building of your practice, in the maintenance of your practice, and the ongoing future vision of your practice in order to have a thriving, successful practice. So really quickly, again, the top 6 things that we want to think about for maintaining clarity are values, the why are you doing private practice, who your ideal client is, your self-care management, your boundary management, and your financial goals. All right, happy Sunday, you guys. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments and I'll circle back to get to you later. I'll talk to you soon.